Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's November 1st. This will be our chart lesson for today, and we're starting a new month again today. There's only a couple of months left in this year, really, probably less than 3 or 4 trading weeks left, really, counting the end of the year and the Thanksgiving holiday, maybe a little over 3 weeks. So not much time left in this year. This year will be over before you know it. Here we are. Look at today's daily and big rally day today. We were severely oversold, so um, it was a little bit questionable if we were going to turn down here or not, but we didn't. And looks like we're headed at least to the midline um, or the 21 EMA, which is what this middle band is. These other bands are based on some different criteria, but this middle band, purple looking one, is 21 bar EMA, our typical 21 EMA. So we're headed back towards that. Um, those two should converge pretty close. So will we turn down there? I don't know. We're definitely in a downtrend here. Um, so we'll have to see. Right now it's been pretty bullish the last 3 days, but we were severely oversold and overdue for a bounce. So not totally surprised that we bounced out of there. Um, we'll see what happens from here. Evidently the market liked the news from the FOMC announcement today because we rallied off of that. So we'll see where the market takes us. We don't want to argue with the market. If it says we're going up with it. If it turns down, we'll go down with it. If it goes sideways, we'll try to trade it sideways as best we can. But anyway, right now we're trending up. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. But let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart. We looked like we were sideways for a good bit, then broke out and went higher. So you'll see what it looks like. Let's flip over there. Okay, here it is. You can see we rallied some during the overnight and then rallied some more at the open, only to watch it go sideways from there. It looked like we were going to end up kind of ranging, but we broke out late in the afternoon and closed pretty close to the highs. So overall, a positive day. It doesn't look as quite as bullish when you see this. We had the overnight move up, um, and then we moved up again. We broke out late in the afternoon and went higher. This was all based on the 1 o'clock news, I guess. I mean, it didn't really take off at first. I guess it took the market a little bit to digest it. And in the end, they liked it and it went higher. So there were several important news items. There was one right at 7:15 this morning to block that off. There was one right around 9 o'clock. We blocked that off. And then the big one, which you really want to make sure you're out at least an hour ahead of, is FOMC. Always try to get out of that thing before noon. We had a little movement going into the noon hour today, but it doesn't usually. A lot of times it'll look like this right here, all the way across from noon into the 1 o'clock news because people are just sitting idle. But we had a little movement, had a little bit of volatility, settled down by 115 or so, and then you could pretty much trade it like usual. But let's zoom in here, take a look at the trades, and we'll wrap this day up. But 7 o'clock came in here. Since this was 7:15 when you couldn't really trade till almost 7:30 really. I mean, you could tell it didn't really affect anything. So by the time this bar closed, it was 7:21 almost or so, and so you could start trading then. This is too congested here. I don't see anything. Then again, just congested. It's tempting to maybe take a short right there. What we have here, I didn't draw it on here, but you can clearly see there's congestion across here. A little tight range, basically. And you do get a failed breakout, and this is a lower high. I can't remember if it breaks higher, if that's an equal high. Either way, you can still trade it. The high is 1675 there. Yep, so that's a 2-bar matching high. So you had to wait for this to close, and then by the time it closes, there's not a lot of room left there. There's enough. There's 2 points. So maybe you take that trade. I didn't mark it originally, but it's probably worth at least a green. If it would have broke higher and turned down, maybe you trade it on the engulfing bar. Then of course it fails out the bottom, but you're still in that channel right there. So wait, you get this higher low, and it actually breaks. I believe that broke lower first and went up. I'd wait for this to close either way. I wouldn't trade it on a engulfing bar with that bar there, although that is pretty small, 4 ticks. So you could have made it a lot less risky, but 9 ticks is not bad. And then you know it closes bullish. I like going long there. This turns out to be a good move. We turn down. You get 2 legs down. That one is tempting, but you're still in the channel. It's only 6 ticks, but it's not bullish. It's just kind of, it's more bearish than it is bullish. So I just sit tight, and then you're just stuck in this stuff. I don't see anything I want to trade there. There's a lower high here, too congested. And you see it doesn't go anywhere. And then it bounces off what looks like a trend line and then goes higher. There's a second entry long here off this trend line, but the bar, that's the signal bar is too bearish. Yeah, if this wasn't right into the highs, I'd say, okay, maybe you take this trade if you had room to scalp out, but you don't. Get a higher low, it's not tradable. And then you're just chopping sideways, and that takes you into the news item at 9 o'clock. And you can see there was a little volatility here, and it really by 9:03 or so, it settled back down to normal. Comes back down. We actually dropped below the signal bar here, or I'm sorry, the trend line here, and you're still in this channel, so I don't see any reason to go long. You do get a higher low here, but again, below the below the EMA, I wouldn't trade that. And you're still bouncing off this line, but you're not going anywhere. You just end up with more congestion, really. It's making higher lows, but you can tell it's got resistance there at the highs. I just don't see anything there that would be worth risking. Then it does break out. And again, you're just going sideways. Again, nothing, no entry. That's the way this thing kind of does. It shoots up or down, goes sideways, shoots up, sideways. And you just don't get a lot of entries. It looks like we get a little close outside, but I think this thing drifted over. This is more like so. There's no break there. Somebody asked me the other day about an old chart lesson, and it was a little skewed there. These things move around on you a lot. You have to double check them. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. But just like that one, it was real mild, but it did need to be adjusted. They move on you. They don't, some reason they don't. Sometimes they don't lock in to where you draw them, and they'll move around on you some. But we shoot up here, and then we're just working sideways. You can't go long into when the midline's holding. There's not room. And finally, it drops lower and gets you a little failed breakout with a nice signal bar. That gives you a chance to get in this thing at the lows with plenty of room to the highs. I like going long there. And you see it kind of takes a minute here before it breaks up here and ends up breaking out the other side and turning down. I don't see any other trades across there. And it finally gets up to the upper side of the trend channel and turns down. But you can see your break of the green channel and clearly 2 legs up. They look like 2 measured legs. Actually went a little further than 2 measured legs. And then it turns down. You get a break here, new low. No setup to go short though. It tries to make a second leg down and just finds support. Breaks out the upside. And I draw my trend line down through here. And of course you test the highs once. And you turn back. You come up and test it. You turn down. You come up and test it. You turn down. You come up and test it. So it's very tight. But there's a triple test there. And all those signal bars, this is a lower high as well from this one, and all those signal bars turning down right off the key entry point. You can trade it like a failed breakout as well. So I like going short there, and really you're just looking to retest the lows again, and if it goes further, well then that's just more gravy. And this thing just kind of takes off. Very bearish move down. Just a first entry there, too congested first entry. And then we're bouncing higher, but I don't see anything here. Notice how we push through the trend line down here. So we already had our break and new high. Maybe we'll get back in this channel, but it looks like we're forming a down channel. And of course, we get to the other side, it turns down. I I don't see any trades. You don't want to go long here. I don't see any shorts. And then finally, you get a first entry, second entry. So that's a failure right at the key entry point. But you also get a first entry, second entry. It looks a little congested, but with it being a failed second entry long and a second entry short with such a bearish bar, I marked it green. It's a little aggressive, but I did mark it green. If you just wait a few minutes, you get a clear second entry here. You got a channel up, close, move to a new high. It's not back to the key entry point, but we didn't get there to the downside yet either. So this could still go either way. But with a clear second entry with such a bearish bar, I mean, it's kind of a big bar, but very bearish. We're going to continue lower here. You're going to retest this low. So if you got room to get out, take that trade. And it drops all the way down, bounces at the original, kind of where we bounced the last time when we were going sideways here. This kind of sets the channel low here for this, or the range low for the range we get into. But it runs down, comes back here, turns down again. I don't see that signal bar is not very good. You could say there's a second entry right there, but when it didn't break lower and you get this inside bar, it's starting to look congested, and then it did break higher and turn down. I don't think I would trade that on an engulfing bar, and if you wait, then you get a lot of stem, and then it doesn't break past on the next two bars. I just sit this one out. You clearly get two legs down, and then it starts rallying, but you hadn't made a new low yet. There is a reversal here, but it's not really where you're looking for one yet. You want to see a new low in place before you're kind of looking for a reversal. And all this is in the news, so you're not going to trade in that anyway. It's no sense in even describing that. This is all, but you can see the price action still works. It just gets a little crazier. But we finally do come back down here and bounce again, and you get a triple test, way away from the EMA. Decent signal bar. It's kind of an inside bar though, and it does look a little congested. If it breaks above that, it's probably at least going to the EMA, may shoot all the way back to the top. So I marked it green. There's better trades than that though. So, and then of course you make a first entry, and then you make another leg up and a second entry right there. So if it breaks above these little 4-bar matching high, that's a failure, and it could go higher. Again, it does look a little congested. It's close to the midline where we turned down there last time, and we couldn't even get back up to it a few times over here. Of course, we were in a downtrend then too. But I'm just not crazy about it. It is a failure. Maybe you take that. It's right off the key entry point. Runs on up, kind of gets a little overshoot here, and then it works sideways, gets a close outside, move to a new high, and turns down. I marked this one just because it's close to where we turned down previously, and you do have a close outside and two legs up, and it's a relatively bearish bar, still way away from the EMA. Again, you're always better off to wait on the lower high, and you don't get that till over here. Notice you test it once, you tested it once, and you test it again, try to go lower, test it the third time. So now you tested that multiple times. You got a triple test. I like going short right there. It takes it a minute, but the bottom drops out of that one. A few minutes later, you get a second entry short, but we're not really back to the trend line, and so I don't know if you want to go short right there. I didn't draw this, but there is a downtrend right there, and that's the first break, and you get two legs back and it turns down. I marked this one because this is really kind of like a little congestion. It broke higher and failed and turned down. I wouldn't trade that on engulfing. It didn't end up being an engulfing bar anyway. I'd wait for it to close, and if it breaks below that, as bearish as that is off the key entry point, you'll probably get a scalp. It probably is going to run down to here, but you at least probably get a scalp out of it. I went back and forth about whether or not to make that one green, but because of that break higher that fails and turns down, and this is a downtrend, it's off a key entry point, I felt like you could probably justify that one being red. It's real close to being green, but I marked it red. Then you get a correction here, get a break, get a first entry. So that's a second entry short. Signal bar is no good. Come back, you bounce here. No setups to go long. High or low here, and then a reversal here. Now this reversal looks pretty good. If it breaks above that red bar, technically the red bar is the signal bar. If it breaks above that, it's going to be a failure, and you got plenty of room back to the midline. I like that trade. You get a high or low here, but no setup. And we're just kind of running higher here, but no setups. And this thing just keeps on going through the highs of the range. Finally gets a break. First entry, second entry, but no signal bar. There is a high or low here, but that looks too congested for me. I'd just skip it. A couple of swings up, and then it reverses. And because that's a 2-bar matching high, and there was a little congestion that broke up, and you have your break and new high. Most breakouts are going to fail. You might could trade that one. It's not a perfect setup. I'll give it a green. Plus, it's you've got a little trend line there too, because it's the retest. But there's clearly 2 swings up and then a little jog higher that fails. And so that usually leads to a reversal, or at least 2 legs down. And then of course we do get the 2 legs down. It bounce right off that key entry point. This was an engulfing bar. I don't know which way it broke first. I wouldn't probably trade an engulfing bar there. I'd want to wait till this closes. And it does close relatively bullish. So once it closes bullish, you can go long right there. If it broke higher first and you went long right there, I would definitely trade this as an engulfing bar and move my stop to the previous low, which would have been over here. It's not that much risk, extra risk. So, but I wouldn't have let that 1 tick stop me out right there if you did enter on the engulfing bar. But usually a bar like that, I wouldn't enter on an engulfing bar anyway. I'd want it to be a strong bull or bear bar, not kind of an indecision type bar. It's almost, if it closes another tick down, it's really almost a doji. So, but then we get a triple test of the trend line and that line right there, and a pretty bullish bar. The problem is you got some resistance across there, but this trend line is probably going to take precedence. So if it breaks higher there, you got plenty of room back up. So I marked that. I'm pretty sure I meant to mark that green. So let's just change that. I don't know why I marked that red, blue. Should have been green because it's congested there. But you can see we're making higher lows each time, even though you kind of got some resistance across there. If it breaks higher, we're probably going higher. Notice the green channel, break, new high, turns down. I don't think I'd go short here. We're still in an uptrend. We're getting late in the day. It has made 2 measured legs up, though. First leg, 2-leg correction, second leg. So in that case, as flat as this is, maybe you take that if you want to be aggressive. And it turns out to be a great move. And then, of course, it bounces and takes you into 230. So I'm not crazy about it, but there's some reasons to consider it, because it looks like you got a break now and 2 measured legs. But it ends up, this is a trend, and we just keep going higher until you finally get a break here. You get a little bit of an overshoot, and then you kind of work sideways to down. But there it is. We spent most of the day going sideways, really from, I'd say 9:15, 9:20 until we broke out here at 2 o'clock. We're going, it's just sideways. So play it like a range. You can trade the trends within if they're good enough. But we broke out late this afternoon and got a big spike in channel. So we'll see where we go from here. Kind of an interesting day. I mean, we've had a lot of price movement in the last couple of weeks where you just get days like this where there's not a lot of trades, though, because you chop sideways and then you get a burst of movement, and then you chop sideways again and get another burst of movement, and the prices don't just give you a great setup and then take off. They're just stuck in congestion or a range and just take off out of that congestion or range. And that makes it harder to trade if you don't get a little failure or a good breakout pullback with a double or triple test or something. So These aren't easy to trade. You know, you want their best trades will be sales off this line that turn down and buys off this line that turn up, or off the key entry points within the trends up and down. But there it is. Not much else we can say about it. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow and wrap up our week. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll